Hafidei and Manana Sijuus Maasi to you for attending today and taking the time to come here and provide testimony in support of Ms. Donna Kloppenberg, and then we'll be moving on to our next confirmation hearing. The Committee on Heritage and the Arts, Parks, Guam Products, Hagåtña Revitalization, Self-Determination, and Regional Affairs now convenes this public hearing. Public hearing notices were distributed to the media and stakeholders. The first notice was issued on Thursday, August 1st, 2019, and the second notice on Tuesday, August 6th, 2019. For the record, today is Thursday, August 8th, 2019, and the time is now 9:06 a.m. On the agenda for this morning's confirmation hearing are Donna W. Kloppenberg to serve as a member on the Board of Directors, Guam Council on the Arts and Humanities Agency, and Beatrice Eliana Nahalawa to serve as a member on the Board of Trustees, Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation, also known as KGTF PBS. The committee will hear testimony from E. Magahaga's nominees, as well as oral testimony from those wishing to testify. The committee will also accept written testimony that will be made a part of today's public record. The conduct for the public hearing shall be as follows. Those testifying will be recognized in the order that appears on the sign-in sheet. Written testimony may be read. Lengthy written testimony should be summarized to about 5 minutes. Written testimonies shall be submitted to the committee. Please provide our legislative staff with your written testimony for photocopying. Testimony shall be confined to the substance. Persons will be allowed to present oral testimony only once. Once you are done, you may be asked to remain in the room for questions or for additional testimony, as may be desired. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. And after that, if you could please kindly remember to turn the microphone off. Please state your name clearly into the microphone for the record, and then you may begin your testimony. We will now begin the confirmation hearing of E. Magahaga's nominee, Donna W. Kloppenberg, to serve as a member on the Board of Directors, Guam Council on the Arts and Humanities Agency, otherwise known as CAHA. So what we will do is we will save Ms. Kloppenberg as the final provider of testimony, and then we have a couple of people here to provide testimony. We will start with Ms. Jackie Balbas. If you could turn the microphone on, state your name, and then provide your testimony. Sijuus Masi.
Hafaday, Madam Speaker. My name is Jackie Balbas, and I'm the Acting Executive Director of the Guam Council on the Arts and Humanities Agency. It's my pleasure to be here today in support of Mrs. Kloppenberg's nomination to the CAHA Board. I've been with CAHA for over 31 years, and Ms. Kloppenberg has actually served on our board for 2 administrations. During the Gutierrez-Berdalio administration in 1993, and then with Governor Calvo administration. And during her tenure as a board member, CAHA has grown and our outreach in the community has expanded. A lot of our programs and important programs and initiatives, she fully supported them. One of them was the Master's Program, which recognizes traditional practitioners who devote most of their lifetime to perpetuating and promoting and passing on a traditional art form. And then also the revitalization of the Percent for the Arts program. I can say that Mrs. Kloppenberg is a woman of good character, with very high morals, and when it comes to board meetings, she's very fair and just, and she really looks at whatever's put forth before her, and she gives the best judgment that she thinks would benefit the people of Guam. My testimony is going to be short. I just wanted to say that I'm here in support of Mrs. Kloppenberg. I welcome her to CAHA, and I can see that she's going to help us move forward in the future. And I do intend to provide written testimony, which might be a little lengthy, so thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Sejus Mahasi, Jackie. The testimony you provided was excellent. It hit all the important marks that are really helpful in helping people determine if somebody would make a good contribution and be a good member for the board of CAHA. So thank you very much for that. And next, we also have Mr. David Taitano. If you could go ahead and begin your testimony as well.
Okay. Half a day and good morning, Madam Chairperson. My name, for the record, is David Taitano. I'm Managing Director for Valley of the Laddie, and I'm here submitting testimony in support of Ms. Donna Kloppingberg's appointment as a board member for the Council on Arts and Humanities Agency. We have known Donna and her family for over 30 years, both personally and professionally. Donna was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Guam Business News earlier this year for her contributions to this community. She has served a number of terms as a CAHA board member with different administrations. She served as a board of director for the Guam Chamber of Commerce. She served as a member and former chairperson of the Guam's Women's Clubs and Guam Women's Council, and as a board member for the Guam Economic Development Authority, just to name a few. Her willingness to serve in all of these different capacities is a testament to her commitment to the island and our people. In particular for CAHA, while she served under the previous administration, she brought and offered a retreat for all the CAHA board members down to the Valley of the Laddie so that they could do a planning session to move forward. And I thought that was very, very special for a lot of them that came down, and she really was instrumental in making that happen. I speak proudly as her business partner and as her friend that our island is lucky to have someone such as Donna who is willing to continue to serve our island. I ask the committee's favorable support of Mrs. Kloppingberg's appointment to serve as a board member on the Council on Arts and Humanities Agency. Sejus Mahasi.
Sejus Mahasi for that, Mr. Taitano. And, you know, you bring forward a good point. I think sometimes maybe we think of board members or board work as being confined within four walls. But I think especially in an agency like CAHA, it's important to understand the culture, to understand the artists, and sometimes to get out into those areas to be within the setting and to be inspired or think otherwise. So that's very important to hear. And finally, we'll go ahead and hear from Ms. Kloppenberg, Mrs. Kloppenberg herself.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Donna Kloppenberg. I am the Executive Vice President of Kloppenberg Enterprises, Inc. And I have been a resident of Guam since 1967, with a few years in between living in Washington State, where my husband and I both worked. Upon my return to Guam, I became active in many different organizations: the Guam Women's Club, International Women's Club of Guam, Seroptimus International of Guam, Guam Council of Women's Clubs, and the Guam Symphony Society. I have also served on the boards of the American Cancer Society, American Red Cross, the Guam Chamber of Commerce, and the Guam Economic Development and Commerce Authority. Over the past 20 years, I have twice served on the board of the Guam Council on the Arts and Humanities Agency. I have participated in numerous activities while on the CAHA board. Among these, recognition of the Guam Masters, CAHA Grants Panel Reviews, and the Strategic Planning Committee. Additionally, I co-chaired a fundraiser for Guam FestPac 2016, and I look forward to assisting with Guam's participation in FestPac 2020. I also have worked on revisions for the Percent for the Arts program, which I understand regulations and guidelines will move forward for review by the legislature for approval and implementation. I truly believe that the community should support music, arts, and culture and make it available to everyone, whether through participation as an artist, practitioner, and performer, or by the ability to enjoy watching or experiencing arts and cultural events. I am deeply honored to have been asked once again to serve on the board of the Guam Council on the Arts and Humanities Agency. And I welcome any questions you may have. Thank you.
Sujuas Maasi for that, Mrs. Kloppenberg. So many things stood out to me as I was reading through the numerous letters of support, and then also in reading through your application as well. So you are the Executive Vice President of Kloppenberg Enterprises, and that's no small feat. So I think that speaks to a lot of the skills and abilities that you'll be bringing forward, and then those are further supported by, in those numerous letters, people noting things like you're well organized, you know how to make things happen, that they've seen a tremendous amount of outgrowth and outreach when you're part of an organization. So that really comes through. And then the other thing that stuck out to me is that you arrived in 1967, and that's the time that I arrived as well. So we've both been here for 52 years and have been a part of the community since then. And then the many organizations that you have not only been a part of, but as Mr. Taitano and others have pointed out, you've served in leadership capacities. You've been the, director, chairperson, president of several of them, being things from the Chamber of Commerce to women's clubs and organizations. The list just kind of goes on and on. It's important to know that you've served twice before, so you really understand the Kaha landscape, and really the fact that you served under 2 different administrations, and if this goes through, that you would be here to serve 3, that really says a lot to be able to serve under quite varied times and quite varied political landscapes. And so I think that shows that people really see the value of having you as a board member. I'll note just a few things further, but we also have Ms. Monica Okada Guzman, who has come in, and she has provided written testimony. And so we would love to hear from her as well before I get into some questions. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and stop here, and then I'll continue on. But if I could call Ms. Guzman to the table if you want to read your written testimony. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. So just Masi for coming and for providing your testimony, Monica. It's very important to hear from you. You, along with everybody here have been such key people in our Kaha and other cultural parts of our landscape, supporting artists, showcasing them, promoting them. Everybody here testifying has been part of that. So just Masi for coming here and testifying.
Sijus Maasi, Madam Chair, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to be here today. Hafa and buenas. My name is Monica Okada Guzman, and I am from the village of Mangilao. It is my honor to submit testimony in support of the nomination by Magahaga Lou Leon Guerrero of Ms. Donna W. Kloppenberg to serve as a member of the Board of Directors for the Guam Council on the Arts and Humanities. I have known Donna both professionally and personally for many years and can attest to her desire to serve the people of Guam, and most especially our artisans and creative community. I worked closely with her when we both served on the Kaha board previously, and she was instrumental in completion of the strategic plan, along with the many projects we were involved in prior to Guam's hosting of FESPAC. As our island prepares for FESPAC 2020, I know that Donna will again step up to the plate and do her part to ensure Guam is represented well in Hawaii. Donna's involvement in the community is far-reaching, having served and assisted in many nonprofit corporations, including the Guam Symphony Society, Salvation Army, Seroptimus, Guam Women's Club, Guam Chamber of Commerce, and many others. The list is too long to list everything. Her knowledge of processes and procedures, along with the relationships she has built over the years, will certainly be an asset to the Council. I strongly urge you to confirm Ms. Donna Kloppenberg onto the Board of Directors of the Guam Council on the Arts and Humanities. And should you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you. Sidus Maasi.
Sainam Asi for your testimony. Again, it's very important to hear from people who have served such vital roles in showcasing the arts and the culture of Guam, and your support of Ms. Kloppenberg. So a couple other things that I wanted to point out is in your experience, you highlighted and others have highlighted the fact that you have also been part of helping organize for FestPac, and that's also very good to hear. It's one of the core roles that CAHA plays. They are the lead agency in organizing and heading up FestPac. It's an extremely large process each time around, but we gain so much from it locally, economically, culturally, and otherwise. So it's very good that at this time, as we're heading up and getting ready for another FestPac, that should you be on the board, that you will be bringing that experience with you. And then I'll go ahead and just highlight that you had pointed out in your testimony that you support the arts, and I really thought it was important that you not only mentioned that it's important to support the artists themselves, but from the community's perspective, understanding that it's important for all of us to be able to enjoy and experience that art. It's part of making us a well-rounded individual and a well-rounded community, to be able to have arts as a vital part of our daily lives. So I thought that that was very good that you pointed that out. A typical question in the confirmation hearings is to ask if you feel that there is any conflict of interest, and if any conflict of interest should arise, how you would proceed.
I don't see any conflict of interest at this time. I can't think of where there might be, except if someone were to go out for a grant and I was part of that. But I have had that happen before, and I've recused myself from the grants panel and have not voted on, if they're selected as a grant recipient. I'm very careful about that.
Sidus Masi, and it's just important for us to be able to hear that understanding, and then for people who are listening in or reading through the testimony, that they are assured that you understand the process and indeed that you've carried it out in the past.
Thank you.
Also, with your serving on the board, having seen the cultural and community landscapes change over the years, do you have any thoughts as to the direction that we're moving in, or any suggestions, changes, thoughts about how we might continue to move forward as an agency?
Well, in working on the strategic plan, I believe that one of the things we talked about was getting more of the community involved. Of course, the schools, but maybe even moving out towards our military community, inviting them to participate in different activities. I personally would really like to see at some point in the future CAHA have a permanent place to reside where they can provide exhibits, workshops, things of that nature. I think that's very important.
Each of those is really an important point. Reaching out and getting the community involved. I mean, that's just so key. As I mentioned, it's a part of us having a really strong community. It's part of our health and well-being, even though we might not necessarily think about it that way. studies show that it is important. It's an important part of developing a cultural identity or a community identity, and these are some of the strongest things of keeping some of the other social issues that we're dealing with at bay, is providing everybody that real strong sense of self and a lot of important activities that are keeping them in focus in these certain kinds of directions. So that's good to hear. And the fact that you're mentioning getting schools more involved, that's absolutely an important thing to hear. We have a lot of youth, and we certainly want to be growing up in that kind of environment. And so we want to be encouraging them participating, but maybe developing those skills. And even with the military, I think the more that we're finding ways to have us understand each other, especially the military who may be here for a short period of time, the more that they're really understanding what we have as a community, what we offer in our rich way of life, if you will, the more I think that it helps bring together our different communities and create real understandings of each other, which is always a positive. Some of the questions that I have are specifically about programs. You may or may not have thought about them specifically, so it's fine if you have not thought about them, but I just thought I'd go ahead and throw them out there. The master's program, I think, has been such an important thing for our community. It's so important to recognize those that have taken these skills and really developed that high level of skill in artistry. That's long been a tradition. That's long been part of the Chamorro way of life, but then also within communities, it's very important to have that continuation. Do you have any thoughts as to the master's program? Anything that you might recommend in seeing it further grow or seeing it further have outreach or impact?
Well, I do remember we were going over some of the criteria for the master's program, and also in our strategic plan, I believe that we wanted to make sure that the masters got out more in the community and were available. And again, I'm going to the children and the schools, but other opportunities for them to go out and for people to meet them, possibly see what they've done, or just talk to them, so that I know we had 2 masters on the board the last time, and I really didn't know them. I reviewed some of their packets, but I enjoyed getting to know them personally and talking to them. You can see a person on TV, but there's nothing better than going face to face, I think. So yeah, I think the master's program is wonderful. I think it's about time. I think it's on a yearly. I don't remember, 4 year? Is it every 4 years? So it must be about time again. So hopefully we can discuss that, and always room to make improvements and do things better.
Sana ma'asi for that. We as a community are really blessed with such a wide variety of Chamorro masters. When one starts to look at the Chamorro masters that have been recognized, I think that's a strength of the program, that it doesn't limit itself to just a few categories, and I think that they're always open to expanding that. And I think that's a real strength of the program. Again, I really like the hearing that you're interested in there being more interaction, because it's true. Nothing beats face-to-face interaction, and especially amongst the youth. I've taught for a number of years on island, and I like that when we get to having the students interact with elders in their family or elders in the community, you can see that their facial expression, their body language, it changes, that they still have that respect, they still have that desire for that extra connection. And it's so important for all of that to be transmitted to the next generation. If our elders or our masters are not able to transmit that to the next generation, then, there's the possibility that some things will be lost. So that's very good to hear. The other would be, you had mentioned participating in, I think, some of the review of the percentage for the arts, and so our office has tried to be a little bit part of that process as well. Are there any thoughts that you have on the percentage of the arts program?
Well, when after my last appointment expired, I have lost track. I admit I haven't been kept up to date on that, but I think it's really important. Kaha and the community need that percent for the arts. Kaha has a art bank that has to be maintained. You can't just hang a photo on the wall for 20 years and not take care of it. So we need the money. You can put the money to good use. Like I said, I don't know quite where this has gone after I left, but we had lengthy discussions about it. I believe some of the money that we got during my term was spent on supplies, art supplies and things for one of the schools. I don't think you can argue with that. And I do firmly support the percent for the arts program.
Sujus Masi for the answer. It's true. Within programs such as that, it's important to understand the different aspects of it, that it doesn't mean just one thing, that encouraging that within our youth and encouraging the next generation who will be producing art that will be hanging on our walls or as murals, that can fit into it as well. This is not the time to be making final decisions, but just to point out that people have come up to me and talked about, and maybe it's already in the language that's being updated at this point, but wanting to expand it to include some of the more traditional forms of artistic expression, which would be the chanting, the dancing,
Absolutely.
the performing arts.
Yes, we did
And
talk about that.
yeah, very good, very good. That's very reassuring to hear. And I can see this really tying in many ways, that when a building is being constructed, that maybe this would allow the payment of those artists to bless that building, and I just see that those kind of performing arts or those types of intangible expressions, that those are really a strong part of the traditional culture, and maybe some of the newer forms, photography, digital art, I love all of them, like just about, I can't think of a type of art form that exists that I don't absolutely love and appreciate. But just recognizing that there are some that are traditional that should be supported as well, alongside some of the newer ones that have evolved. So those conclude my questions and queries. Thank you very kindly for accommodating all of them, and Siduas Masi, everybody, for coming and testifying. It was so important to hear of your support. Siduas Masi. We'll take just a quick recess for a minute, and then we'll call the next confirmation nomination. We will now move on to our second confirmation nomination. The time is 9:38, and we will move on to the nomination of Trixie, or I should say Beatrice Nahalawa, to serve as member on the Board of Trustees, Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation, also known as KGTF or PBS. We'll just go over the general rules for the public hearing again. To restate our general housekeeping rules, the conduct of this public hearing shall be as follows. 1, those testifying will be recognized in the order of those that have signed in. 2, written testimony may be read. Lengthy written testimony should be summarized to about 5 minutes. Written testimony shall be submitted to the committee. Please provide our legislative staff with your written testimony for photocopying. Testimony shall be, excuse me, testimony shall be confined to the substance. Persons will be allowed to present oral testimony only once. Once you are done, please remain at the table so that the members of the panel are able to request for additional comments or convey comments on your testimony. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. Please state your name for the record, and then once you are concluded, to kindly remember to turn the microphone off. So today we have, and if I can call you forward to come sit at the table, we have Miss Beatrice Nahalawa, Miss Leah Nahalawa, and then we have Ina Carrillo. Sejus Masi for being here, and for 2 of the people here for being here 2 days in a row. And I really liked noting that yesterday Trixie was testifying for Leah, and then today Leah Nahalawa is testifying for Trixie. So it's wonderful to have you both back again, and thank you very much for being here, Ms. Carrillo. So we'll go ahead and save Beatrice's testimony for last, since she is the nominee, and we'll begin with Leah Nahalawa. Okay, you'll yield to Ina. So Ms. Carrillo, if you can go ahead and begin your testimony.
Sure. Good morning, Acting Speaker Marsh Taitano, and everyone here who is attending this hearing today. My name is Ina Carrillo. I'm the station manager of PBS Guam, and I'm here to testify in favor of the confirmation of Beatrix Nahalawa to the Board of Trustees for the Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation, also known as PBS Guam. I met Beatrix as a young woman on the campaign trail. She was energetic and eagerly assisting the campaign of her mother, my friend Leah Beth. I was struck by how detail-oriented she was in her capacity in the campaign and her commitment at such a young age to making Guam a better place. I later found out that she had just recently graduated from high school and was attending college at the University of Guam. During her time as a student, I noticed that she was working hard in various civic organizations and nonprofits, volunteering her time to help Guam's residents that needed assistance. Her experience in banking, event planning, and education is a perfect fit for our board, as we are more committed to fundraising and getting corporate underwriting to produce high-quality local educational programming for Guam and the Micronesian region. I can personally attest to Ms. Beatrix's commitment to success and passion to contribute to the island of Guam, traits that are a perfect complement to the Board of Trustees. In closing, I thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning, and I humbly ask for you to support her in her confirmation to serve as a member of the Board of Trustees for the Guam Educational Telecommunication Corporation. Thank you.
Sijuas Masi, for your testimony. And I think one of the strengths of it is you really highlighted ways that her skill set can be fitting in with PBS and really supporting it as it moves forward and working to serve our community.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's go ahead and move on to Ms. Leah Beth Nahalawa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am Leah Beth Nahalawa'a. I'm Beatrix's mom, and I'm here to wholeheartedly support her nomination to the board of Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation. I am very protective of my daughter, and we always discuss things that she will do, things that she will get involved with. And with this nomination by Governor Lulian Guerrero, I wholeheartedly support her. And my daughter, I can vouch for her integrity. She works hard. She's very detail-oriented. When you give her something to do, she makes sure that she will finish it. She's also my prayer partner, my accountability partner. So I cannot imagine her anyone else being most qualified to be in this position. So, Madam Speaker, thank you for allowing us to be here and vouch for her character and her integrity, and I fully and my family support her nomination to this board. Thank you.
Sijuas Masi, Mrs. Nahalawa, for your testimony. And as we heard yesterday, that means a lot because we heard of all of your many contributions and experience with the community, that you yourself are a high-level organizer, you make things happen, you create projects that are really serving our community, and so your guidance and support of your daughter, it means a lot to us and helps us understand the skill sets that she brings. Sijuas Masi, for your testimony. And then now, Ms. Trixie Nahalawa, you may begin your testimony as well.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Half a day, my name is Beatrix Aliana Nahaloa, known as Trixie. And thank you for the opportunity to appear before you as the Governor's nominee to be a member on the Board of Trustees for the Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation. My sincerest thanks to you and your respective staff for taking the time to share the information regarding the Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation. I am honored to appear before you and would like to thank Governor Lulian Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Joshua Tenorio for the confidence they have placed in me with this nomination. If I am honored with this confirmation by the Guam Legislature, I will look forward to working together with you and your staff to resolve challenging issues that confront our island's education with telecommunications. I received my bachelor's degree in business administration with a finance and economics concentration at the University of Guam in May 2016. The student organizations that I have been involved with includes being the vice president of the 51st Student Government and being a member for the American Marketing Association, Society of Human Resources Management, Seratima Sigma Society, Student Investment Club, and Public Administration and Legal Studies Society. My career started with being a vibe writer, vibe editor, and freelance journalist with the Pacific Daily News during my high school years. After high school graduation from Harvest Christian Academy, I started an internship with Bank of Guam, which began my nearly 7 years in the banking and financial industry. At the Bank of Guam, I was able to work as an anti-money laundering investigator and community and customer service associate, which is known as a bank teller. My trainings include webinars from the Association of Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialists. In July 2018, I decided to leave the Bank of Guam in pursuit of better opportunities for professional and personal growth. So I began my journey as a kindergarten teacher with the Guam Department of Education at Pedro C. Lujan Elementary School. My latest adventure is being in sales with Macy's, and as a former college graduate and business professional, I understand the duties and responsibilities of public servants as it pertains to government policies and procedures. Madam Speaker and members of the committee, thank you for this opportunity to appear before you as the Governor's nominee for the Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering your questions as you consider my nomination.
Seduas Masi for all of the testimonies, and it was important to be able to hear you highlight some of the things like your degree in business administration, and I think even your anti-money laundering skill. It speaks to your detail-orientedness or nature, and maybe in some ways, perhaps with what PBS will be working with as they're dealing with large corporations perhaps, or if they move in the direction of being the Guam Film Office. I think that there are many ways that your skills that you highlighted, not only your degree and training, but some of the other roles that you've played will have the potential of really being assets. So as you listed, you've been participating in many organizations, and I really think that speaks to your ability to serve on a board for our community, because it does take time, it does take commitment, and by your having served in these other organizations, it shows that you have that capacity and you do understand the time commitment that it takes. I did notice here that you also have been helping organize the Pink Ball, which is a wonderful event with a very important elements that it supports. And unfortunately, I missed this last one. I was in Saipan and Tinian over the weekend, and I was truly disappointed that I couldn't be there, but I will work my calendar around the Pink Ball next year. But again, that speaks to that detail-orientedness and some of those skills that you bring if you're helping organize something like that. And then not only were there the 2 testimonies we heard today for your support, but there were others that were sent to my office. And they note things such as that you're willing to go above and beyond, that you're very positive, you are very dedicated, you're a hard worker, you have a high level of integrity, and other such qualities that are important for all of us to hear in the legislature as we're determining your nomination. Those are important things for us to hear as characteristics that you would be bringing with you. One of the things that I noted is that in one of the testimonies, they mentioned that you were born in Saipan. So this is not really a fully an aside. I think that it is related. How many years did you spend on Saipan before you came to Guam, or was it just a very short time that was there?
Less than a year, probably, then I moved straight here. Yeah.
Okay. But, I think considerations like that can have a certain amount of importance, if you will, just in that, like what Ms. Carrillo was saying, that PBS, KGTF, they're here to serve Guam and the Micronesian region. And so I think in the many ways that many, if not all of our community members are connected with other places, it helps us remember that we have that greater identity or that greater role in entities like PBS and KGTF, where they're serving not only Guam, but Guam within this larger context. And so perhaps in some way that helps you remember just that we're within that broader context as a possibility. Other characteristics that were mentioned by those that provided support is they noted that you're intelligent, charismatic, and committed, and that you're very passionate about education. And that last one really was important for me to read as well, because a very important function of PBS is that it is out there educating in many ways our youth and keeping the community informed. And so I think that those are also potentially skills that you could be bringing with us, that understanding about education. So a typical question is we always want to make sure that our board members talk about and recognize any conflict of interest they may have. Do you see any conflict of interest at this point?
No, Madam Speaker, I do not have any conflict of interest being as a board member.
Okay, and then if in some way or another something arises, how would you proceed if you felt that there was some sort of conflict, somebody you knew, maybe somewhere that you've worked for before, if that came up?
I will do my best to have integrity and to serve well and to always do what is right.
So, Jus Masi, that's good to hear. As I mentioned before, I've gone through quite a few of the things that different people have highlighted and you yourself have highlighted. So you bring quite a bit to the table, I believe. And the only other question that I have for you is whether you have any thoughts on something that you'd particularly like to focus on, if you have any visions for maybe a direction that PBS KGTF could be going in.
I believe a vision I have with PBS is to really enhance the educational tools. I mean, to me personally, as a former kindergarten teacher, I believe that you don't learn only in the four walls. You learn everywhere, and there's always something new to learn. And learning is an everyday experience. Like even me personally, I'm learning new things every day. So what I would like to do with PBS is to really try to hone in using social media or technology to really grasp the attention of youth and their peers.
Gof Maulik, that's very good to hear. It is a strong part of what PBS provides, and any way that they can be continuing to expand that, I think is going to be a plus for our community. One of the things I guess we'll be seeing is the different ways that they may be growing. I've heard, I believe, that there may be growth in our children's programming, and so again, that may be something that fits in very well with some of the strengths that you bring. So with that, unless there's something that anybody else wants to add, there being no further testimony, this committee will conclude the confirmation hearing of Beatrice Eliana O. Nahalawa to serve as a member on the Board of Trustees, Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation, otherwise known as KGTF PBS. The committee will continue to receive testimonies for the next few days. If you wish to submit testimony, please address your written testimony to the Committee on Heritage and the Arts, Parks, Guam Products, Hagåtña Revitalization, Self-Determination, and Regional Affairs, and submit it either via email to office.senatorkelly@guamlegislature.org or to my office located on the second floor of the Guam Congress Building. So, Jus Masi, for your attendance and participation in today's confirmation hearings. Today's public hearing has now ended, and the time is 10:57. So, Jus Masi.